So the Manifesto of Matthew Livelsberger has been released, and I'm going to read it. Matthew Livelsberger is the guy that had the Tesla that blew up right outside of Trump Hotel on January 1st. The Tesla outside of Trump Hotel, the car blows up, he shot himself in the head, and there was an email that he had sent to somebody, and then it was put on some podcast, and then Newsweek has posted it. So I'm just going to read what Newsweek has posted. According to Shoemate, the email said this: in case I do not make it to my decision point or onto the Mexico border, I am sending this now. Please do not release this until January 1st and keep my identity private until then. First off, I am not under duress or hostile influence or control. My first car was a 2006 black Ford Mustang V6 for verification. What we have been seeing with drones is the operational use of gravitic propulsion systems, anti-gravity propulsion systems powered or they use the gravity, so it's anti-gravity. It's using the gravity to go against gravity. Gravitic propulsion systems powered aircraft by most recently China in the East Coast, but throughout history of the U.S. Only we in China have this capability. Our OPEN, our open location for this activity is in the box. For this activity in the box is below. I'm not for sure what that means. Makes me think about the drones that we've been seeing on the East Coast. Where are they coming from? What is going on? China has been launching them from the Atlantic from submarines for years. But this activity recently has picked up. As of now, it is just a show of force. They are using it similar to how they use the balloon for SIGINT, C-I-G-I-N-T, and ISR, which are also part of the integrated comm systems. Integrated comm system. There are dozens of those balloons in the air at any given time. The so what is because of the speed and stealth of these unmanned AC. They are the most dangerous threat to national security that has ever existed. They basically have an unlimited payload capacity and can park it over the White House if they wanted. Then it's checkmate. USG needs to give the history of this. The United States government, I presume. How we are employing it and weaponizing it, how China is employing them, and what the way forward is. China is poised to attack anywhere on the East Coast. I've been followed for over a week now from likely Homeland or FBI, Homeland Security or the FBI, and they are looking to move on me and are unlikely going to let me cross into Mexico, but won't because they know that I'm armed and I have a massive VBIED. I've been trying to maintain a very visible profile and have kept my phone, and they are definitely digitally tracking me. I have knowledge of this program and also war crimes that were covered up during the airstrikes in Nimruz province, Afghanistan in 2019 by the administration, DOD, DEA, and CIA. 2019, that would have been Donald, right? That would have been under the Donald administration. I conducted targeting for these strikes of over 125 buildings. 65 were struck because of CIVCAS that killed hundreds of civilians in a single day. Hundreds of civilians. US FORA, US FORA continued strikes after spotting civilians on initial ISR. It was supposed to take 6 minutes and scramble all aircraft in CENTCOM. CENTCOM. The UN basically called these war crimes, but the administration made them disappear. I was part of that cover-up with US FORA and agent redacted. So they didn't say who this agent was of the DEA. So there's another redacted part 2 coming up. So I don't know if my abduction attempt is related to either. I worked with Jen Miller's 10 staff. I guess that's General Gen Miller's 10 staff on this, as well as the response to Bala Murgab, AOBS commander at the time. Redacted can validate this. Who or what's being redacted? You need to elevate this to the media so we can avoid a world war. because this is a mutually assured destruction situation. For vetting, my LinkedIn is Matt Berg or Matthew Livelsberger in active duty 18Z. Out of 1-10, my profile is public. I have an active TSSCI with UAP, USAP access. And that's it. So, my God, that's a fucking mouthful. I don't know what half those acronyms mean. But let's just kind of break it down a little bit, sort of sentence by sentence. He's saying he's trying to make it to his decision point or to the Mexico border. So basically, he's going to try to get to Mexico, and if he can't get to Mexico, then he's got a decision point. I assume that was Las Vegas. And then he didn't want this to be released, so I'm wondering when he sent the email, first off, I'm not under duress or hostile influence or control. So he's not ISIS influence, he's not terrorist. This is homegrown. He came out of Colorado Springs. He was a 37-year-old Caucasian male. Then he's talking about the verification, which I'm not for sure exactly why we would verify him through his first vehicle. The thing with the drones is fascinating too. So is he saying that the drones that are on the East Coast, they fucking lied to us then? Of course they fucking lie. They always lie. Oh, it's nothing. There's nothing going on. Just a bunch of private people with fucking drones. There was massive fucking drones all over the place, and instead of telling us, we the people, what was going on, they lied to us about it. They said it wasn't a national security threat. Don't worry about it. Go back to bed, America. Make sure you stay asleep. Don't waken up. Don't be woke. We need you asleep. We need you in a coma. We need you not paying any attention. Now, if that's China, China's got all, they did have an air balloon, which was shot out of the sky. And then there was the drones on the East Coast. And private people do have drones, but if this is a massive Chinese operation, then that is some scary shit. Because what can you put on the bottom of a drone? You could put a video camera on the bottom of a drone, or you could put a fucking bomb. Or, the biggest of all bombs, bigger than the mother of all bombs, a nuke. And so when he says that if China can put a drone over the White House, then that's checkmate, because then they can terrorize, they can threaten the White House to the maximum degree. He says they've been launching the drones from the Atlantic from submarines for years. So this isn't just this year that it's been happening for years. He says our open location for this activity in the box is below. I'm not for sure. OPEN is all in caps, so it makes me think that open is some sort of acronym. And I don't see what the box below is talking about. There is no box that Newsweek had provided. They said that they used the balloon for SIGINT and ISR. Don't know what SIGINT or ISR means. The integrated comm system, the integrated communication system, what is that? They said that there's dozens of balloons in the air at any given time. And they're saying, so what? The speed and stealth of these unmanned AC, I want to say aerial C. I don't know what C is. They're the most dangerous threat to national security. And they basically have an unlimited payload capacity and can park it over the White House if they wanted. Then it's checkmate. U.S. government needs to give the history of this, how we are employing it and weaponizing it, how China is employing them, and what the way forward is. That is fascinating. So if we're using these anti-gravity drones to be over there by China, and then China is getting the same technology and putting it over here by us, well, then that means they've, in some respects have invaded the mainland. We only got attacked, War of 1812 and 9/11 was the only time that the mainland had ever got attacked like this. The War of 1812 was, they burnt down the damn White House. That was fucking UK that did that shit. And we should have helped with the French Revolution. Instead, we allied ourselves with our fucking oppressors. We went back to the goddamn tyrannical bastards instead of helping the Haitian revolutionaries and the French revolutionaries, which is what an empire should be and do. They should help the good guys. I mean, what a bastardization of a revolution to turn your back against the revolutions that were inspired by you. So we do need to know the history of it all. When have we used it? What is the capability? What is the threat level? I mean, before, when 9/11 had happened, they were giving us orange threat levels and a whole bunch of threat levels and shit. So there is a lot of goings on in the world. Syria is kind of a shit show. Yemen. There's a lot of, in Africa, you got Azerbaijan. There is a lot of conflicts and shit, and we are not being told by anybody what the hell of any of this shit, and we're not telling honestly. Honestly, we're not saying anything at all. We need the truth, and the truth shall set us free. We want the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. So if China is poised to attack anywhere along the East Coast, and why wouldn't they be on the West Coast? It's interesting that they were able to get to our Atlantic side because the Pacific side is where China is. Now, he's saying he's being followed by Homeland Security or the FBI. I'm not sure why he feels that way, but that doesn't necessarily, just because he is, what's the saying, just because he's paranoid doesn't mean that they're not out to get him. So that I'd like to know that too. Is Homeland Security and FBI following him, and why are they following him? Because he's got this information. He's got all this information, and they don't want him to speak about it. And then when he saw war crimes, and the Trump administration had covered up the war crimes, we're out of Afghanistan now, so I'm sure all these, hundreds of civilians were killed in a single day. Civilians. That's terrorism. The definition of terrorism is killing civilians. And so, does that mean, the U.S. empire, we're just going around conducting a whole bunch of terrorism all over the fucking place? Like, what the fuck are we doing in Niger? We got 1,000 military bases. Am I supposed to just presume? I'm just supposed to assume? I'm supposed to make an ass of you and me by presuming that we're doing God's work, we're passing out constitutions, we're helping to install infrastructure, building schools and hospitals and water projects? Is that what we're doing all over the world? Or are we stealing gold and silver and sucking out the raw materials and allowing the McDonald's and the Walmarts and the fucking corporate, the oil companies and shit, Chevron, BP to be able to set up shop? I'm not willing to do something like that. You want to spend my tax dollars to make sure that the corporations of the fucking world can set up shop in fucking Taiwan and shit? Now, if we were fighting for, the Bill of Rights and the human rights and even Hobbes's natural rights, if we're passing out constitutions, passing out enlightenment, little enlightenment books, then we're doing something. We're trying to win hearts and minds. But if we're the fucking Nazi stormtroopers and we're just a fucking empire who just wants to oppress the entire world to death, well, that's going to come to bite us in the ass because it's expensive. And people are resentful of oppression. People don't like to be oppressed, violently oppressed. So he's saying that it's unlikely he's going to get into Mexico. And he says that they know that he is armed with the massive VBIED. I remember when the story actually broke, they said, well, he actually has a lot more training than just this. But then later on he said that what better way to get a message out to the American people than with fireworks, with a big violent, shit show parade with fireworks. And so violence and fireworks apparently gets our attention. And it absolutely did. But, also him shooting himself in the head. And what the fuck was, you're a decorated Green Beret. So that means in terms of privileges, you're comfortably in the middle class. You got power. You got prestige. I don't know if you got security clearance, but Jesus Christ, you got wealth and power. You should be comfortably in the, privileged class. And you're going to throw away all your privileges. And for what? So I wanted to know. Maybe he had some divorce issues. Maybe he did have some argument with his wife or some shit. And then financial issues. A lot of times personal shit can inspire but that's in terms of Fate Zero. Fate Zero says a hero is a person that fights for a cause that's bigger than themselves. So even if he did have an argument with his woman, he only killed himself. 7 others were injured. I don't know the extent of their injuries, but just watching the explosion on video, it didn't look like there was anybody that was around the thing. And so the injuries would have had to been minimal, just a little bit of shrapnel hitting somebody in the leg or some shit. And it was an incredible fucking explosion. I think there was a beeping countdown, beep, 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 and then fireworks, right? So there was fucking fireworks everywhere. Seems to be a coincidence that it was on the same day. There's a lot of shit. It's almost kind of Americans, right? In New York City, there was a big fucking gun shoot. There was a bunch of, 10 people got shot in New York City on January 1st. There was a lot of violent shit that's happened in just the first 3 days of this year. And then he was talking about the airstrikes in Nimruz and the Nimruz providence in Afghanistan in 2019, and the United Nations did say that they were basically called them war crimes, but then the administration somehow made them disappear, which that's some mafia shit. You know, that's like, can you just keep this, make sure we don't do the COVID testing so that way nobody knows what the hell is going on? He said he conducted the targeting for these strikes of over 125 buildings. And he says 65 were struck because of CIVSAS, C-I-V-C-A-S. What is CIVSAS? I don't know. He does mention the department, the DEA, so that's the Drug Enforcement Agency, the CIA, which is the Central Intelligence Agency, the DOD is the Department of Defense. So there's some of this that I can recognize. CENTCOM, C-E-N-T-COM, I'm not for sure. I'm sure I could just Google all this stuff or check out Grok, and I'm sure they'll U.S. FORA. I don't know what all these, little AOBS commander, and then I also want to know the redacted. Who are these agents? The redacted. This person can validate this. Who can fucking validate this? Because we need to ask that person questions. If the U.S. government's not going to tell us that goddamn China's got some fucking drones and it's supposed to just scare us, but any one of those drones can be watching us with video cameras, and then they could have, guns attached to it or have a bomb that's attached to it. So if push comes to shove, if we need to go to war with Taiwan, and then the Trump administration were talking about the Uyghurs, they were saying that the Chinese government were conducting a genocide on the Uyghurs. And with this whole thing with Russia, we are kind of pushing up towards fucking nuclear Armageddon. We've had the ability to take out humanity for the past 70 years. And I've been fucking nervous as shit about it, but I know a lot of people just keep marching on, even though everything has fallen to pieces. I have been seeing kind of a decline of the empire, and it doesn't seem like the American people are taking that serious either. We've elected a Napoleon because the revolutionaries couldn't get their shit together. And so Napoleon's going to bring about, necessary stability, but does Napoleon understand half this shit? He'll be, briefed about it. Hopefully he's got smart, intelligent people. Elon Musk is for free speech. And so hopefully he'll listen to the people that believe in the Bill of Rights and the Constitution and the rule of law and all the things that Americans have held dear since our inception, since our revolution. So he saw that we've been the terrorists in Afghanistan, killing hundreds of civilians in a single day. Then U.S. FORA continued the strikes after spotting civilians on initial ISR. What's ISR? It was supposed to take 6 minutes, scramble all aircraft in CENTCOM. C-E-N-T-COM. He was part of that cover-up with U.S. FORA, an agent, whatever, of the DEA. So I don't know if my abduction attempt is related to either one of these things. He's not for sure why the FBI is chasing him, why Homeland Security is chasing him. And maybe they're just monitoring them. I know the FBI would follow Martin Luther King and Malcolm X and shit, and maybe they're a part of it. Maybe they weren't, but they definitely created a climate of fear. If you got a damn cop that's following you every fucking place, then people aren't going to want to talk to you. And then if a cop is fucking tailing you, then it makes it seem like you done something wrong or they don't like you and shit. And so, hell, in a way, they'll give you cover if you do want to do something to with Martin Luther King, they told him to go kill himself. Malcolm X, there's infiltrators that were all over the place. Fred Hampton was at the FBI. It was definitely the U.S. government in some respects. The ATF was involved in Waco. Ruby Ridge, I'm not for sure who did Ruby Ridge, but we've had numerous experiences with the government going way too fucking far with us. So now with Trump in office, he's actually did good about standing up to the CIA and FBI and the intelligence agencies. Hopefully he'll have that chutzpah. Hopefully he'll have that riz. Hopefully he'll have, that confidence to be able to continue to stand up to it, because you need to clean the swamp, right? We do need a federal police force, but the FBI and the CIA, a lot of these fucking bureaucratic measures, the CIA, JFK, he had sent an assassination squad to the South Vietnamese president, which was our guy. And then 3 weeks later, he got fucking offed. They haven't told us about the Kennedy files. They haven't released the Epstein files. They haven't released the UFO files. Why are they not telling us the information that we didn't need to know? We're supposed to be a free country, and in order for us to be as rational as we can be in a democracy and in a capitalist democracy, we need to know all the information that we need to know. So who's these agents that they're redacting? So they read the fucking email. Was it redacted? He didn't redact it when he typed it. So those names have been redacted, to the person that released this shit. You need to elevate this to the media so we avoid a world war. Yeah, I don't want a fucking world war with China. I don't want a world war with anybody. Whatever we can do to, essentially stop a world war. We can't be capitulous, Neville Chamberlain, he signed a document with Hitler, and then Hitler kept on terrorizing people. So if motherfuckers are out of control, then in a way, the whole world does need to unite. We need to unite. When it came to Napoleon, they tried to unite against him, and there was 5 or 6 wars of the coalition because he kept on fucking invading, and nobody could do a damn thing about it. With Hitler, that was, all of civilization was hanging in the balance. We didn't have to win World War I or World War II. It was not guaranteed. We did not have the advantage. It wasn't like the Civil War where we had the industry and we had the morals, and then the U.S. Revolution, we were actually the underdogs. And then in Vietnam, we had all the weapons, and we were just up against a very dedicated group of people that want to keep their country. AOBS commander, I'm not for sure who that is, response to Bala Murgab. For vetting my LinkedIn as Matt Berg or Matthew Livelsberger, an active duty 18Z. What is 18Z out of my 1-10? What is 1-10? It's not 1 through 10, right? 18Z. So some military people should understand all this talk and should go down point by point and explain what the fuck this actual email is saying. Because I get the major points, but I don't get all the finer details. I have an active TSSCI with a UAP and a USAP access. What is active TSSCI? And then if the FBI and the fucking goddamn Homeland Security are so freaked out about this guy, why was he released on leave? I heard he was in goddamn Germany, in Stuttgart or something. So he was in a base over in Germany, and then when he's on leave, this is the shit that he does. And then when you got that pressure from the FBI and the Homeland Security, how much stupid crazy situation do you have when motherfuckers are sitting there breathing down your fucking neck like this? The Homeland Security and FBI is sitting there breathing down his fucking neck, and it's like, man, what the fuck are you all fucking on? What the hell is going on? So if he feels like he's being hunted, if he feels like he's being targeted everywhere he goes, he's seeing all these fucking agents and shit. Eventually, they got Malcolm X. Eventually, they got Fred Hampton. And eventually, they got Martin Luther King Jr., the motherfucker who was all about nonviolence. The FBI wrote a letter saying, hey, Martin Luther King, why don't you just go kill yourself? You know you did that thing that you did, so why don't you go kill yourself? So it's just, we need a police force, but we don't need a racist fucking police force. We don't need a John Wilkes Booth who's fucking running the goddamn police. Jesus fucking Christ. So that was fascinating. That's some of the Manifesto by Matthew Livelsberger. And hopefully we get some more information. Hopefully if we find out whatever was in that box. He said that there is supposed to be something. Our open location for this activity is in the box below. What box? What are the redacted names? What do all these acronyms mean? What does the government know? How much do they know? How long have we been deploying these fucking drones over there? And the whole idea of fighting the war over there so it didn't come over here. But in terms of China, that's backfiring. Because if we're going to do shit to them, well, they're a superpower as well. They'll just do shit right back to us. And so I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt, but you should hope for the best and be prepared for the worst. So I'm going to give China the benefit of the doubt and say that they're unarmed drones. And they're playing just war games, right? They're just playing a bunch of America's playing war games with China, and China's playing war games with us. So, thank you, Matthew Livelsberger. Thank you for letting us know about all this shit that was going on. He also said another important thing was that he acted alone. He acted alone. And he had nobody supporting him. He had nobody, basically, what exactly did he? He's not under duress or hostile influence or control. So he's not under duress. He was under duress because he's being followed, but he wasn't under duress in terms of somebody, Russia or China or, ISIS, saying that they were going to, they captured, his family or something, was holding his family hostage. So he's saying that he is doing what he is doing freely of his own accord. He's not under hostile influence, nor is he under control of any foreign nations. So this shit is fucking wild. And, he's kind of tipped us off. He's tipped us off about what's going on, but he's only kind of I think, scratch the surface, because this isn't the only. Who the fuck killed our goddamn president? Who killed JFK? The CIA did? Okay, tell us. A bunch of rich people that's still living around, a bunch of plutocrats, and a bunch of fucking fortune, millionaire, billionaire motherfuckers. Tell us who the fuck did it. Because if they could come for our president, then they can come for any one of us. And so, I feel like, again, thank you to motherfucking Matthew Livelsberger. This grok is pretty cool. I asked Thomas Hobbes what his laws of nature is, and they're like, seek peace and follow it. The first law of nature is to seek peace and follow it. The second law of nature is a mutual giving up of rights to all things. So why do we enter into a social contract that guarantees our little rights to right to petition and peacefully assemble and our right to speak? Why do we do that? Because we're giving up our right to everything, and our right to everything is to do anything and everything to anybody, any fucking time that we want to. Because we are gods, right? So when we're born, we have a right to everything. We got a right to all of it. I want the world, Chico, and everything in it. That's what Scarface said in the movie Scarface. That's what Al Pacino said in Scarface. Third law is to keep covenants. The fourth law is gratitude. The fifth law is accommodation. The sixth law is pardon upon repentance. And the seventh law, punishment, must aim at correction to deter future offenses, not just as retribution. The 18th law of nature is no man by nature is entitled to rewards for gratitude, or similar phrasing. So the grok, we got some cool fucking technology. And I think people voted for Trump and so-called conservative because they're reactionaries, and it's almost too much technology. And it's like, let's get back to our roots. And ultimately, we are people. We are humans. And if our tools are getting more dangerous than what our morality is, we don't have the principles. We don't have the fucking morals. And then now we got all this goddamn capacity to do all this damn destruction. It's like we need to get right with God. You don't have a coherent and comprehensive understanding of morals and law, then fucking learn your damn 10 commandments. The second tablet, at least. Not the Sabbath and the Godship, but at the very least, the second tablet. That'll give you a comprehensive and coherent law that everybody should be following and obeying. The Constitution and the rights. The only felony that the Constitution mentions is treason, so you can't commit treason. But it doesn't really say what the major felonies are in the Constitution. So there you go. John Masters, Hippie Ninja, USA. Peace.